We, the members of the secret order of alchemical actors, do solemnly commit ourselves to the full and honest telling of the history of the occult as far as we know it.
My name's Rob. This is Luke.
Are we recording?
We're doing something. We're not sure what this is going to be. We were meant to have Luke's interviews keep falling through, so he's going to interview me. For lack of anything else to do. It's true that I have done a big research project. It's also true that I don't think we've ever done much about who I am.
This is true.
It's you sort of have to pick it up if you're interested. And you don't have to be interested in who I am. But Luke's going to, I guess, try to fill in some of the gaps for you guys today. And we'll find other interviews eventually. People do like us. They send us their books. We just don't like their books all the time.
And then we have complications like growing families, which means I had to be less productive for a little bit.
Well, so let's interview you for a second, Luke. What's going on in your life?
Well, a lot of things. I had another baby, so I have 2 children now, and I resigned from my teaching position.
Yes. Big news. Big
Outside of that,
happening.
I'm desperately looking for a job now, so that's fun. But complications with childcare. And I've had this conversation with Rob, but I'll share this with you guys. Childcare is very expensive.
It is.
And my wife and I were not able to afford what it would cost for a newborn to be in childcare. So we elected to have me stay at home, which my wife is much more successful than me. She's got all the good traits. She's beautiful, she's successful, she's funny, and she's only angry at me like 80% of the time, which is a passable number.
Luke is being modest. He's a very good middle school teacher as far as I can tell, because he's still alive. He isn't bleeding out of his eyeballs. It's one of the toughest jobs. You and Jillian both have very difficult jobs.
We do what we can.
Yeah.
But thankfully with we've did the math, and she only needs to pick up 2 shifts a month to essentially make what I was making in a month.
Oh, good Lord.
Well, if she picks up 2 shifts, it's 24 hours overtime. Additional just overtime for her. So,
not that paramedics are being paid adequately, let's be clear.
Yes.
They should be paid better than they are, as should teachers, especially in the middle schools.
Yeah, I mean, if I won't get into the dynamics of it, but if I was making more and she was making more, then we would both be able to have a job. But at the same time, if I was making more and she was making more, there's a chance I'd be a stay-at-home dad anyway, because then we wouldn't have to put Theo in childcare, and we could just, enjoy these few years with him before he gets old enough to go to school.
Yeah, I mean, for Katie and I, that's been a thing too. Katie wants to move down to part-time. She wants to make less so that she can spend more time with the kids while they're still relatively small. Yeah, it's tough, but we live in an economy now where that's, like, when I was a kid, my mother worked part-time. My dad was a machinist. He made, I think, a third, like less than half of what I make. You know what I mean? But we lived in a house that is just as nice as the house that I'm raising my children in. And my mom didn't have to work full-time. Like, we're just in it. The economy's all upside down and backwards now. Yeah,
everything's bad. I come from divorced parents. They divorced when I was about 7. And even with them being divorced, they then both had to work full time. Yeah. But unless it was the summertime, childcare wasn't really an issue. And then we'd just go to my grandparents, and that's not entirely viable for my wife and I. And they were both making enough to support 2 children and all of their own bills off of their single incomes, which is something I'm envious of as someone who is in a weirdly financially constrained position and who wants to do everything that they can to kind of provide for their own children.
Yeah.
But it's just a weird time.
So we are at theater camp. Luke has arrived at I run a summer camp. So here's the first fact about me. As the artistic director of a performing arts center, I run a summer camp for the month of July. And Luke has joined me at summer camp. So you might hear the pitter-patter of feet. Those are not actually our children, either of our children. Those are other people's children who are having lunch right now.
And Jillian had suggested that I bring both of my children with me.
Just so I let them hang out.
Yeah, I'm sure they'd have a great time. Theo is not mobile yet. He's only 3.5 months old.
Might struggle with our 13-year-olds here.
Perhaps. Yeah. but it would be great. That'd be fine. All right, so we both have families.
This is true.
That is established.
Yes.
Let's kind of predate Katie a little bit. Predate your little ones.
Sure.
Well, actually, I say that. I don't know when you and Katie got together.
I met Katie when she was 18 years old.
Okay.
And I was 21. So we've been together since college.
Ah, well, you know that Jillian and I also met through theater. We've been together since high school.
Yeah, you beat us a little bit.
Only a tad. But so we've both been with our partners for quite some time.
Yes.
5
or 6 years.
Yeah, at least. For over 6 years. Rob is a young, virile 24-year-old
with a PhD and a podcast I've been running for 8 years.
Yeah, don't question the logistics.
Don't count
it's
the
fine.
numbers.
This is going to be moderately unlistenable for people.
Yeah. It'll depend on how interested you are.
That's true. I imagine people are quite interested in you, so let's kind of get a better idea of who you are.
Yes. Okay.
So we don't have to go all the way back to high school for you, but I would like to talk about your college experiences because that can kind of give us more foundation of who you are.
Sure.
So let's talk undergrad for a bit.
Okay. I was always an English major. So I was always into the humanities. I was always excited about research. And I liked writing research papers. I guess at some point in high school, imagined myself as more like of a novelist. And I do write plays these days. But I just enjoy research writing and that kind of work. I enjoy that kind of creative work. I'm not going to say more. I do love writing plays and writing fictional stuff and adapting content and things, as you guys can tell listening to the show, right? We do wacky church secrets and all that sort of stuff.
Calm down. That's a secret.
Separate guy. That's true.
There is a picture of him on the wall, though.
Yes.
Yes.
He's looking right at us. Church Secrets is looking right at us. But so we like to, you can tell if you listen, if you've listened as many of you have through our entire 8-year catalog, and God bless you, you can tell that we do some fictional stuff, but by and large it's research based. So I was an English major on the lit side, not on the creative writing side, and I dabbled with the thought of becoming a philosophy major, and I did double major in philosophy for like 3 minutes.
Thank goodness that didn't happen.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. I'm still very interested in philosophy, but I think that it gets a little abstract. I mean, technically we all have doctors of philosophy, right? All the PhDs. But I am more interested in culture and what humans do and trying to figure out why we do the things the way we do. So, and I'm also really into performance. So the theater side sort of pulled me away. I was not a theater person when I came in undergrad. It was only at the end of my first year that I switched. I double majored in philosophy, and then like a week later double majored in theater and gave up the philosophy track. And then, at the end of my 4 years, I wasn't sure what I was going to grad school for. I knew it was something. I wanted a PhD. And English was a thought, but there are 2 job markets that are utterly flooded with candidates. All job markets in graduate school in the humanities are completely flooded with candidates. There's way more candidates, maybe 50 candidates for every job, and I'm undercutting that. It's a dreadful, dreadful job market. In English and in history, we're looking at more like 200 to 300 candidates for every job. In theater, that's true on the research one side. It's not true for the rest of these jobs. Probably like 50 people applied for the position I currently have. So it's still highly competitive. I mean, these are very qualified people for the most part. I'm competing with other people who have PhDs, when I got this position. So the job market's not better. It is better. Sorry, that's what I'm trying to say. In theater is slightly better. But things have, of course, shifted. I mean, maybe I don't want to go too far off the track, but we just interviewed for an art professor, and we had 60 applications at this small, little.
Yeah.
That's a lot of applications to sort through. We probably had more, but we're also looking at the contraction of fine arts education across the country, in theater, in art, in music. We're just doing less of it. Maybe we're doing less of everything, though. We're looking at a contraction in education across the board, higher education. and there just are fewer PhDs being minted. So probably the job market in 6 or 7 years is going to be fantastic.
Oh yeah, I can hold out that long.
You can hold off that long. Just get your PhD. Just chill. Go to grad school. Jolene will be fine with that. But
she's getting ready to go back to school. We'll both go back to school.
You bring in that sweet 25, 30K a year.
Oh yes.
I did have colleagues who had children. Usually they had a partner, had a full-time job. I had a few colleagues who were pregnant during their dissertation and during their defense, which apparently was a strategy for making them go easier on you because they didn't want you to go into labor in the middle of your defense. I didn't have that option. But anyway, so then
you do have a pretty strong theater background. You could have stuffed a pillow under your shirt.
I persuaded them that I'm actually pregnant. Performance, though, was my interest. Stop me if I'm moving too fast. So while I like theater, I like scripted theater, it is a fairly narrow part of our culture these days. It's something that most people will experience 2 or 3 times in their lives. Some people are really into it, and it's consuming for them, and they do it, and they go see it, and it's theater. For me, I recognize that theater is a narrow cultural pursuit, and so I went into what's called performance studies, which is basically analyzing anything as a performance. So I had a colleague in my master's degree who studied tattoos as performance. It's a kind of performance of self. Like you are performing something. How are you performing it? Are you performing it? What happens if you put it on your butt? Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't have the answers to these things, but you can take anything, car commercials. We could do a whole book about car commercials and how cars are sold, or how, makeup and the difference between perfume ads and Doritos ads. You can take the culture and look at it from a performance angle. And I then got into religious ritual. I've always been fascinated by religion because I don't have one and I wasn't raised with one, which separates me from most of the alchemical actors who were raised in some tradition and left it. Broke up with it. But I didn't have a tradition. My dad broke up with the church. The story he tells is that he tried to wear his hippie fringe jacket to church one day, and all the old church ladies started talking about him, and he decided that organized religion was not for him, never turned back, and I guess leaned into the hippie lifestyle, although he was not a hippie at all when he raised me and my sister. He was a machinist with a house and a yard and a lawnmower.
That's my go-to hippie thought. What do you mean?
That's what happens to the hippies after a while. But that mindset, that ideology, it was definitely inculcated in me. My mother was born Baptist, but not really raised Baptist very much. And my family, particularly my mother's side, was, super into, the psychics and the Nostradamus predictions and all that sort of, wackiness that, was the 90s, right? The late New Age. So I was raised with like the fun of that. Religion, I guess, to me, and spirituality was fun and not onerous, but it was also like a kind of burden on me psychologically, spiritually, that religion existed and I didn't know a lot about it. And it seemed important, God and all that seemed like major questions. So as I got older, the exploration of those questions hung with me. Like going back to 12, 13 years old, I was maybe haunted really by what is all this about. And I had to take my teens and 20s to turn the haunting into a productive relationship with these questions, which I think ultimately, and I'll let you keep asking questions, Luke, but is about learning to live with uncertainty, to have God and uncertainty all at once, and to reject is a strong word, to embrace an open-minded perspective that doesn't dictate who or what God is. So grad school for me was an opportunity to really look at really the New Age weirdnesses that were a part of my spiritual upbringing, so to speak. The psychic mediums and the ghosts, not in that order. And look at how and why people accept these as true. Because if a ghost is real, boy, that changes everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, it would. I mean, if we think just in the scope of Christianity, we have the Holy Ghost.
Yeah, but not good enough.
No, not quite.
If any one ghost story is true, boy, that knocks it out of the park.
Yeah, it's not my mum Bonnie making the lights flicker and throwing pictures around the house. Those are not the same thing.
No one's asking for your faith there. So I started on ghost tours in my master's work. And I just was tantalized by the prospect that if anything that was being described on these ghost tours was real and true, metaphysically, psychologically, everything about the human condition has been moved into another space. And yet, we're just wandering around Gettysburg with a guy in a goofy costume making jokes about dead people. You know what I mean? Like, this is a huge, like, the metaphysical stakes are enormous, but this is a common feature of our culture. Like, watch any of the ghost YouTube, the paranormal shows. Ghost Hunters was huge back when I was doing right? Is that the plumbers that go around? They're like Roto-Rooter, and I
think so.
They were the big deal.
It's been a minute,
right?
Yeah.
South Park did a thing about them. That's how influential they were. John Edward, the psychic. But these claims are so mammoth about humans. Your soul, you have a soul. Your soul continues to exist after you die. It looks like you. It can visit other people. It can talk to them. It can move stuff. You have an eternal entity that has some access to the living and the earth plane. Wow.
But no guarantee. You could be trapped here.
Yes. What does it all mean? Yeah. But we just play with this. We don't take it very seriously. So then in my PhD, I went to psychic mediums who take it extremely seriously, although their audiences don't always. Mm-hmm. But in the churches where the psychic mediums practiced, and everyone that I talked to when I was doing this work outside of the church would be like, wait, there's a church where people talk to dead people? It's a church? And I was like, yeah, they're real serious about it. Because we think it's, we pass Cult Classic. I pass Cult Classic. You live that way, but I pass Cult Classic, which is a brewery out here on the way to work. And it's not uncommon for them to have psychic medium.
It is a nice brewery.
It's a lovely brewery. Yeah, nothing against Cult Classic. But psychic medium, right? Like, that is a drunk audience for a psychic medium, which speaks to where they sit in the culture. We tend to regard them as kind of goofy and silly, but they are also making very big claims about you and who you are and what's going to happen to you after you die. Mm-hmm. Major questions are being addressed here, and strange phenomena are being demonstrated both on a ghost tour and in the church that we don't ultimately have explanations for.
No, but I think the performative element, be it on the ghost tour, be it going to Cult Classic and having a fantastic drink while
talking to your grandmother.
Yeah, while talking to your grandmother.
Great grandmother.
The performative element removes some of the tension of really having to think about death, which I think can still be uncomfortable for some people. And if I'm in a room and I'm with someone who is really delving deep into my family history, kind of looking at me as a person, and that is a very serious tone, I may feel more uncomfortable. So I think there is a lot of performative elements that kind of mask what is actually being said, but your work is looking past that mask.
Yes, I'm interested in belief. I mean, I'm a serious scholar, right? So the idea, I'm a serious scholar who studies things that are treated unseriously in the culture and are looked down on. So often, to that degree, people would say, oh, well, is it real? Is it real? This is mostly what I hear, even, of course, from my students, but everybody, right? Even to a certain extent, like my dissertation committee, of course not, but when I would meet with the faculty of the performance studies program at Maryland, some faculty would be like, wow, but really ghosts here? Are these people, these people are just like defrauding their audience, right? This kind of stuff. And I get it. I get that that's where it sits in the culture, but it is a serious avenue of study to analyze how and why we come to believe things and what role evidence plays or doesn't play in that. Because in Christianity, evidence is sort of like an ugly word. We don't love evidence.
Yeah. A lot of real devout Christians tend to want the opposite.
Yes, and Christ said that to some extent, or God, somebody said that, Yahweh. I can't remember who said. Yahweh to right out with as the Jews are wandering the desert, But Christ said this too, right? That they want a sign, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but you shouldn't look for a sign. I got my favorite line from Yahweh. I'm not quoting this directly because I didn't memorize the Bible again. Raised with no particular religious tradition, but I think God is like, the Jews are wandering the desert and God is like making rocks spout water and wine, and he's like rains bread on these people, and the Jews keep saying, God, but are you real? God, why won't you help me? And God's like, what
else can I do?
What more do you people want from me? And I think that's quite profound. I think that many of us go through life like that.
Yeah.
Anyhow, the spiritualists and even ghost tour guides, make a claim that they can give you evidence of the afterlife. So I was also interested in that as a philosophical claim. What does that look like? And the conclusion to me is that they aren't offering you evidence of the afterlife, but they are offering you evidence that there is more to you and more to them than you thought. Psychic ability, I think, is pretty real, and we still don't take it very seriously. I still read about it, usually in the New York Times. It's not being treated as a serious.
Yeah.
But if we go all the way back to Jung and these guys, they treated psychic experiences quite real, because it is. I mean, it's just undeniable that some people can do this stuff, and there's no other explanation for it. But because we've goofied it up, we have a hard time addressing that. Are they talking to dead people? That I don't know. Mm-hmm. That's beyond my scope. But I will, if I'm in the right company, and of course the listeners of this podcast, I'm happy to admit that I think psychic phenomena is the thing that I am most comfortable acknowledging is true. And I think we all often have psychic experiences. Just the other day, I had a weird dream right before. For me, it's always dreams. I'm not a very good psychic at all, and I've practiced with mediums, and I tried to be a good psychic as part of my research. But I had a dream that I was getting a tattoo, which is odd because I have no tattoos.
Yeah.
But all of you guys do. All the actors and pretty much all your generation, right? All my 30-somethings all have tattoos on the shore. But anyway, I'm getting this tattoo, and I'm clearly I'm thinking even in the dream that my wife is not going to love this. and I go to pick up my camp counselors to come to theater camp, and both of them have henna all over their arms. That's what they'd done the night before. So is that a coincidence? Yes, but it's a very strange one. I don't often dream
synchronicitous.
Yes, yeah. To borrow from Jung, which is going to be our next season, by the way. I have a whole stack of Jung next to my bed. So I've been teasing I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do next season for ages, and I think this is what we're going to go with.
You say it now, and then you'll change it by the time.
Oh Lord! Well, I got a stack of books now. I mean, I got the biography as thick as my arm, so I got to get it going on that. So anyway, I think it's all very serious and very important, and it can be treated as a cultural phenomenon. And so to that extent, it's no surprise that I've moved into pop culture, because I sort of was there already. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, moving into pop culture, do you want to talk about your recent project?
Yeah, sure.
It's pretty pop culture oriented.
It's 100% pop culture, yeah.
That's how I've been pitching it to publishers.
I don't think Mario is regarded as a serious literary figure.
It depends on who you ask.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to me. I did the My Little Pony project first. Mm-hmm. And I took that to my conference. I have a regional conference I go to. I go to a national conference. I only conference with pop culture, because the conversation is, to me, much more genuine. Let me say a little bit, but I know we have some scholars out there, and I have conferenced in a variety of fields. I've conferenced in anthropology and religion. I've gone to conferences, particularly in theater, performance studies, international conferences, national conferences. A conference is really, and I say this with great love for humanity and for my profession and the field I'm in, it's a bunch of sweaty, anxious, sad graduate students who are desperately trying to make the people with jobs believe that they are viable to also have jobs. And I understand. When I was in graduate school, conferences were sold to us more or less in this way, that this is where you go to network. And insofar as I said at the beginning, we are all desperately unemployable. Like, this is where you can try and get an edge, right? You can get in with...
I have not felt that desperate, unemployable feeling until recently. so aggressively until recently.
You should attend a theater conference or an English conference.
I've been to the ACT4 World Language Conference.
Oh, how was it?
It's a hoot. I really enjoy it.
Is it educators, though?
Yes.
People with jobs?
Yes, it's the already employed, not those seeking employment.
Yes, I mean, we spend 4 to 6 years in graduate school completing a degree that is going to be very hard to market into we all plan to teach, right? We all plan to be research scholars or something, right? Which has worked out for me, but I'm not in a research scholar institution at all. I just happen to do research scholarship. And that I have great freedom. I can do this podcast. I wouldn't be able to do this if I was at a Research One institution, because I would have to publish books with such frequency. Anyhow, conferences suck. They're miserable. And I hated them when I was at them as a graduate student. I hated feeling this pressure because you were getting to meet your heroes, but you were having to sell yourself to them rather than just talk to these incredibly intelligent, insightful people about the things they know and the things you both love. That, to me, is what a conference could be, but so much of it is just people who are terrible at sales trying to sell themselves. You know?
Yeah.
They're smart, they're ambitious. Like, I love the young people, they're in their 20s, right? They're in their 30s. I love the graduate students. I do. But they ruin conferences just by their very nature. So I started attending a regional pop culture conference. Pop culture conferences are looked down on by all humanities scholars. History, English, theater, like, it doesn't matter. They all look down on pop culture conferences because they're so easy to get into, and they're not very serious. The subject matter is not very serious. We're not talking about some esoteric German director who, directed Shakespeare in 1785 and he had his particulars, this is real scholarship. Bores the crap out of regular people. We are talking about, the board game life and how it's evolved over the last 50 years. We're talking about Princess Toadstool. This is what we're doing. And so much of these conferences is people who are just really interested in their subject. And there are graduate students there, but there are so many career faculty in a variety of institutions that it lacks that, Research One scholars, like, lording it. They don't mean to. They're very nice people, Research One theater scholars, but they have the sexy new books, right, that everyone's talking about, and the graduate students are just trying to get a minute with them.
Please.
Right. And then there's the emeritus, the big name who write the textbooks, and everyone's just trying to get a minute with them. And it's all so desperate and hierarchical. But when I go to these conferences, it's not that. That's important to understand how I've evolved as a researcher, because when my daughter got really into My Little Pony, and she loves horses, right, I noticed occult themes in it, and I said, wow, I can just write about this because I don't have to write a book, right, at my institution. And the conference will gladly let me talk about this. Yeah. They'll be delighted. Not only that, but the Pamela, who organizes the religion area at the pop culture conference, she said, I love that, Rob. You should pitch that to a journal. And I pitched it to the journal for the conference. And the journal was like, this is great. And they printed it. They printed this article about My Little Pony. It tickled the hell out of me. So I thought, okay, well, what do I think is really fun in the culture? Not that I don't love My Little Pony, but what it really tickles me. And it, of course, is my childhood, like anybody is going to go back to their childhood. And I had just started, for funsies, collecting some of the trading cards that had been around when I was a kid. But of course, the Nintendo trading cards, if anyone remembers these from '89, Topps made these trading cards that were destructible, like by their very nature.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by that too. I'm fascinated by collecting now. Like I've gotten really interested in how and why we collect and what is collectible and what isn't. And the world of trading cards fascinates me, but not only on the side. I'm not really into the sports side of it. But Topps made these cards that you scratched off because you were playing the game.
Yeah.
And then they made these stickers. And this was very common in the 80s. And so the trading cards still exist, and they're incredibly cheap on eBay. But my personal set is gone because you destroy it.
Yeah.
Your parents throw it away.
Can you give a little bit more context to this? So do you mind if I give a little bit more context to this?
Luke has read my book, guys. He's one of him and Mims and maybe Julian. There's a few people out there.
So Topps and Fleer were creating these cards. One of the easiest ones to kind of explain when we're thinking about the scratch-offs is one focusing around Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man. Mm-hmm. And what it would have on it is similar to like a lotto scratch off, is you would scratch off the spaces, and as you do, you had a goal of getting like your power pellets, making sure you're not scratching off any of the ghosts, because if you scratched off 3 ghosts, you would lose the game, and you would have these consumable trading cards. Mm-hmm. I don't even think trading cards is a good way to describe it, because it wouldn't be in the same vein that we have like trading cards like Pokemon and stuff like that. Right, where
you meant to keep them and preserve them. Yeah.
So just a very consumable product. Mm-hmm. And a very similar to like a scratch off. It was a one and done thing.
Yep. To vandalize with the stickers or to scratch off the scratch offs.
And some of the stickers and their encouragement for vandalizing in their nature is quite fun.
Yes.
And I'm excited for people to read your work once we have a home for your work.
Yeah.
Because
we're shopping. Luke's been helping.
Yeah, we're in the process.
Someone who wants this quasi-academic pop culture book. Yeah, so I started with the Topps Nintendo cards because that's what I knew as a kid, but then I discovered the Pac-Man cards, and they were weird, as you're saying. Weird for other reasons, though the content of them is quite misogynist, which is bizarre. I hate them. I've collected most of the whole set, but the Pac-Man cards give me the most pain. And then there's the Donkey Kong cards, which are not as misogynist and have this complex sexual message. Sex in the arcade world, which predates me. I'm an old millennial. I'm not a Gen Xer, so I was way too young to go to the arcade. But sex in the arcade was a very complex phenomenon. And so I just started like tripping down like the consumables, as Luke's saying, the collectibles got me interested in this whole world that no one really has looked at. Because my childhood experience of Mario and Mega Man and all these guys is as a kid, my mother was very, I have a PhD for a reason, right? I was only allowed to play on the weekends, but I loved the characters. To me were not just video game characters. They were so much more. And I engaged with them in TV shows, and I engaged with them in not movies. I didn't see the movie, which was good. The 93 movie. I don't like the recent movies either, but that's another story, of course. So I was fascinated by the degree to which the video game character transcended the screen. And this was in part the fantasy of the character. And as I looked very closely at this, and as you look at this content that was created around Mario and Mega Man, it's just insane. I, as a graduate student, I keep talking about this time, but I came to understand popular culture as a kind of like mass-produced, uniform, kind of like controlling mechanism for the masses, right? This is Adorno and Horkheimer. This concept that a sitcom in part is meant to dull you, but also to inscribe in you the repetitive notion of who you're supposed to be. And it is true, right? Just a large extent. I Love Lucy is not the story of a woman who successfully gets a career in 1950. It's the story of a woman who stays home and wears a dress, and whenever she tries to go to the club, it doesn't quite work out.
Yeah.
Desi's the working man. But as I looked at the video games, what was strange about them was their capacity to push back on the culture and to my argument, my thought about this is that because these were so new, because they were coming from Japan, one of the really central products from Japan that influenced 80s culture, the anime was still very much on the edge until Sailor Moon in the 90s. We weren't doing that. So Nintendo kind of opened a door there. We were getting anime, but it was like Koala and, Brothers Grimm fairy tales. And it was Western content to some extent. We didn't recognize it as Japanese. We got Sony, we got Honda, but these were products that influenced the culture, but were not Japanese. We got sushi. But storytelling wise, it was Nintendo that brought Japanese culture over. So that's weird for America, right? We're trying to swallow this thing. And there is no such thing as a video game character until Pac-Man, Superstar. Mm-hmm. So we are inventing video game superstars. Mario, Pac-Man are it. They're from the arcade. Mario then has a much more robust life after Pac-Man, but Pac-Man's not gone. Pac-Man's still a huge cultural
Pac-Man
figure.
hasn't evolved in the same way that Mario has.
Right. He has, because Namco is not Nintendo.
Yeah.
Namco sort of went away. They're still there, but Nintendo is a cultural juggernaut, and Mario has always been their guy.
Yeah.
Even when he wasn't their guy. Even it was the Pokemon. So there was, to my mind, this point when the culture was just doing whatever it could with these characters, and it wasn't conformist. I think when it comes to gender, a lot of the content that began to develop in the late 80s, Captain N and even the Zelda cartoon as part of the Super Show, but especially the Super Show, these were pushing a new message about gender that was so special compared to what came after and what came before. It was really fixing the misogyny of the arcade scene because there was such a strong interest in getting women to play. I also talk about the working class status of Mario, the anti-technology in Sonic, the anti-technology in Mega Man to some extent. Mega Man, I think, is just porting over some of that Transformer stuff. There's always been this, arguably there's always a working class aesthetic to cartoons, but there aren't necessarily working class heroes.
Yeah.
Mario's so special in that way, and he's so strange because he just comes about accidentally. I think that ultimately is what fascinated me most. Of course, this is a book about religion and mythology. It's a book about the creation of a postmodern mythology out of these video game characters, because that's what we do now. We don't retell the Odyssey literally like yesterday, but we don't retell it in the way that we used to. Nobody is watching the Odyssey and saying, "Oh wow, I got to keep Athena on my side here." Because she was also in a movie about tennis players, and so I don't want to piss her off and lose the match.
Oh, of course not.
It's just for funsies, right? To the Odyssey. There's cultural messages there and stuff. I don't have time for it, right? I have 2 small children. You're not going to see it, I'm guessing, anytime soon.
No.
It's hard to see 3-hour movies.
If I'm watching anything, it's what Matilda wants to watch.
Right, yeah.
And
end of the day, I get to watch Stargate or whatever.
Yeah, in the evenings after Matilda's asleep, usually Jillian will go to bed earlier than I do. I typically don't go to bed until 1 a.m. Pretty consistently.
Good for you.
If I'm feeling extra adventurous.
When I had a baby, I was up later.
Yeah. And Theo is at the point where he's sleeping pretty well. He's only up maybe once or twice a night for a quick feed, and then he's back down. And so the evening is when I'm either reading or I'm painting. Right now I'm in the process of making a big topographical map for a new D&D campaign that I want to start.
Luke is a skilled figure painter. Can I say that?
Yeah, you sure. I paint a lot of minis.
Yes.
I've never heard
figures.
It is, but anyone in the hobby would know it more likely as a mini. So I just wanted to provide a little bit of clarification.
I see. Well, the Japanese do it as well. They do their keshi. So
yeah. Which I had to look up what keshi was because I wasn't familiar with it, and I was like,
"Oh, really?
Yeah."
I got a bunch in my office.
I know what it is now, and I knew what it was. I just didn't know it by its name because I had some as a kid.
Kinkeshi.
Yeah. And so right now I'm in the process of making this big topographical map, and it's of an island. It's about this big, and I just used a bunch of foam core and layered it so it has the different depths, cool. And then smashed it with a rock so it's textured. And then I went ahead and modeled small like 3D or small houses in like small little village settlements that I 3D printed. So I'm gonna put those in and then go over the entire thing with Mod Podge, so it's kind of sealed.
I can't wait to make stop motion with you.
Anytime. I'm happy to. There's a name that hasn't been on the show in a while. We can get Maddie in because I think she would be great at it.
Maddie's very good. Yeah,
Marshall with his puppetry. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can make a stop motion project.
Yeah, I'm on it. That would be awesome. You have to have a good hobby. I think it's very important.
Yeah.
People go crazy without their hobbies.
And then obviously I play video games.
Right. Work, it can't be your whole life. No. Children can't be your whole life, truth be told. You need some time for you to like decompress. So maybe that's what the book has been in part for me, you know, collecting all this stuff, which gets expensive over time, I'll be honest, but it's quite cheap. All of it, even the Japanese stuff. It's quite cheap if you can figure out how to buy it. But you have to collect it to read it. So yeah, it's just been a different research process than I'm used to. Anyway, so yeah, it's not conformist. I don't think the cartoons are conformist. I don't think the games are conformist, but I think it's largely accidental at first, and then the Americans sort of latched onto it. The Americans, I think it was far more intentional because there's a different version of Mario in Japan and a different version of Mario in America. He looks the same, and it's a me. And all that, right? but
the marketing behind it is different, and it results in a very different outcome.
They don't have the Super Show over there. I mean, if we're thinking of '89, Princess Peach is Princess Peach. She's not Princess Toadstool. Over here, she's Princess Toadstool, and she's an action hero because in Mario 2, she's a playable character, which is not true in Japan. Even though the Japanese have female protagonists, more female protagonists.
Well, their Mario 2 is also different than our Mario 2.
Right, it's just Mario 1 extended. But they have a version that their Mario 2 is Doki Doki Panic, which is from the 1987 Communication Carnival in Osaka and Tokyo, and there's 2 female protagonists in that game. So the Japanese also have female protagonists. The gender question resurfaces again and again in the book. It's not a book about gender. There's a chapter about gender, but it's such a central question, I think, in video gaming. And it's one that's very rarely, I think, tackled from the standpoint of the 80s. The arcade hated women is a deeply misogynist space, but girls picked up the home consoles. And Sega, for example, in the mid-90s had more female players than they had male players. So women love video games, and yet video games have often hated them. But I think it's a misconception to say that video games have always hated women, and it's a gross simplification because of characters like Princess Toadstool. We have to be pretty purist and say, oh, well, Toadstool, well, she was an attractive, whatever. So therefore, Princess Toadstool doesn't love women. We're looking for playable characters. Samus is more complex, but still a hero, right? We strip her down if we win the game, which is problematic.
Yeah, a little bit.
But if you go over to Japan, you have characters like Athena, who wears a bikini the whole game. I mean, you shouldn't. You should get the armor, but she's essentially a Ghosts and Goblins character who, when she gets hit, she loses her armor, and then she's just running around in her bikini, and that's heavily marketed to the Japanese audience. It's just so complicated.
I mean, we do and the thinking Metroid now, we do eventually get Zero Suit Samus. Right. She's much more clothed.
But still skimpy.
Still skimpy, yeah. And not necessarily skimpy in skin showing, it's just skin tight. So,
and I'm a sex-positive feminist, right? And at this point, I'm comfortable saying that. I sit uncomfortably at conferences and women's studies groups because the sex positivity is not so strong with them, and I'm the cis hetero man sitting in the room being like,
yeah.
You guys are being a little harsh on sex work here, but I'm a sex worker inclusionary feminist, so that's a unique perspective. So I can look at attractive sex object characters in games, and to me the main question is not, is the character attractive or sexy? The main question is is the character an agent? Is the character making their own choices? Is the character complex? Can the character be multiple things at once, like humans are? Because being attractive or sexy does not make you non-human. And I think a woman or a man, like men are forced to identify with all kinds of ridiculous, cartoonish figures. He-Man, these kinds of, like, He-Man tried to come back, it didn't work. But when I was a kid, like these are not realistic body types. And yet, I don't think there's an argument that identifying...
Well, before he transforms, it's pretty realistic. Like, I can obtain that goal.
The gay icon of He-Man, yeah.
Although I say that I enjoyed the Masters of the Universe animation that came out recently,
really?
With Mark Hamill as Skeletor. That I enjoyed.
She-Ra too, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, the questions are more complicated than they seem. And I think there was a kind of like brief gender utopia happening in America in particular. Japan is a very different place. Japan, like, I don't have the answer if we're going to keep talking about gender. Sailor Moon, for example, is a wonderful feminist piece and feminist series that I show my daughter, that my daughter and I enjoy together. I buy her t-shirts. I love that she's into Sailor Moon, but she's also sexualized.
Yeah.
So like in Japan, we always have to deal with this. Japan is also not a place for female protagonists, and yet it creates them with such regularity because the Japanese culture is not as woman forward as American culture, believe it or not. There are far fewer Japanese principals, for example, in the school system, Japanese female doctors. There's more women in administrative jobs, for example, than in managerial jobs. This is true in the US, but the numbers are so far off.
Yeah.
And yet Japan also has the first female prime minister right now. We still haven't had a female president. It's complicated. And that's what makes it fun to write about. Anyhow. But gender's not the only thing, right? We're also dealing with technology. We're also dealing with video gaming as a new thing. Like the culture that comes out of video games. Like the book is about not the video games themselves. I talk about the video games themselves, but there's been enough ink spilled on the video games. What hasn't been talked about is everything that came out and around. I mean, Pac-Man, for example... there's an apocryphal, I think, Pac-Man toilet seat, but I mentioned the Pac-Man toilet seat. Gross. I mentioned the Pac-Man toilet seat because there were every possible consumable, to use Luke's term, had Pac-Man on it. You could get anything. There's Pac-Man underwear. There was Pac-Man, of course, candy, toys, Pac-Man backpack, Pac-Man lunchbox, Pac-Man... whatever, like Pac-Man hot rods.
The Pac-Man toilet seat, when you use it, it'll go waka waka waka
and chew off your junk. But there's a huge culture that came out of these characters that tried to figure out what the hell they meant, because the games couldn't really articulate that and weren't very interested in articulating that. But the cartoons and all this did try to figure that out. I actually interviewed the guy who wrote the Pac-Man cartoon and wrote the Captain N cartoon, the first season anyway. Great guy. But he was having to figure this out because Namco and Nintendo really weren't saying who these characters were and what they were about. We had to figure it out beyond them, and they were huge, and they still are huge, and what they mean is still important because it's communicating a lot of messages to children and adults about what it's like to be human, and also what the purpose and function of video games is. So I guess this is the other side of the work. I am deeply, at this point in my career, upset at the way gaming and entertainment have been co-opted by capitalism. And I don't mean this as a product for us to buy and enjoy. I think that's okay. I think we have crossed some dark and terrible lines, and in ways that will not surprise you, right? I find iPhone games offensive. because I don't think it is appropriate for us to be entertained by something that's trying to manipulate us. It should just be trying to entertain us.
Yeah.
Manipulating us and trying to get money out of us, that is not what Miyamoto-san was doing, right, in 1985. He just wanted to create a cool, fun game. That's what we should be doing. And I think the indie studios, we started talking about 20XX, that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're just passionate about creating something cool and entertaining.
I'll say it's almost cyclical in a sense, because arcades initially were kind of...
Trying to get the quarters out
Yeah,
of you.
exactly. That's why the difficulty was so high.
But then you mastered it.
Yeah, eventually you'd master it, and then
yeah,
you wouldn't need to keep spending. But for the general audience, it was difficult. Like, the difficulty curve was there so that you would fail, so you would pay more money, but make it enjoyable enough that you'd want to continue paying money.
Yeah, I mean, and I think maybe that's the line from me, Luke. Pac-Man can be mastered, and then you can just sit on the machine for hours if you can figure out, how the monsters move and this sort of stuff. But the iPhone game, social media, like the algorithm, the casino algorithm that just has infiltrated our lives to such an extent, in our Facebook feed and our Instagram feed, the algorithm, that the TikTok feed in particular, that just tries to keep you playing no matter what. Once you've mastered Pac-Man and you've played it for a few hours, that's it.
Yeah.
You're done. You move on. We don't move on anymore. So that's part of my problem. And looking back at this culture, I'm trying to excavate how games could have stayed, and they still are, right? Like, even Mario Galaxy, Mario Odyssey, I've played them all. It ends. It just ends, and there's no reason to go back to it once you've beaten it. But the iPhone game doesn't end. It just goes on and on.
Even outside of mobile gaming, you do have forever games. Like WoW, for example, is continuously putting out expansions. And they're not free expansions.
Sure.
WoW is still one of the only MMOs that has...
Do you think that's predatory, or do you think that's just like Mario 7, Mario 8, Mario 9? You know what I mean?
It's weird, because Blizzard has... such a unique past, and there's a great book that I cannot remember the name of that really gives you like a full picture of it. And WoW is one of the few MMOs that still requires a monthly subscription, whereas a lot of other MMOs have moved away from that, and you're just paying for the expansions, or you pay for the base game and then you have it. Right. So like Guild Wars 2, for example, you buy the base game. If you want to buy the expansions, you do, but you can continuously go back, just like you would if, I picked up like Elden Ring, for example.
Sure, yeah, Dark Souls.
I've purchased it. If I want DLC, I can get DLC separately.
Or if you're me, you buy it so late that all the DLC is just included.
Yeah, you buy the, for Dark Souls, you buy the Prepare to Die edition.
It just all comes together, yeah. But yeah, so that you would not regard as necessarily predatory, but you think the monthly fee is part of what makes it... They're just trying to keep you paying that monthly fee.
Yes.
Yeah. I just don't like that predatory aspect of it. What may be surprising is I'm also offended by the other side of this, which is the Oregon Trail. I find the Oregon Trail offensive.
Now, as someone who gets the joy of seeing about 150 middle schoolers play through the Oregon Trail every year, because it's still... there hasn't been a single year that I've taught that one of our social studies teachers in 8th grade doesn't incorporate that into their lesson, because it's a cool experience for the kids.
Yes.
And then continuing to see the kids throughout the rest of the school day for probably that week, continuously playing it and trying to like successfully make it.
Which is next to impossible, right?
I've got a few good runs, but why are you mad at the Oregon Trail?
Okay, so I'll qualify this a little bit, Luke. And you sort of know the answer to this, right? Having read the book, although I don't go into Oregon Trail very much. I think what you're doing with this is wonderful, because the children are experiencing an old game and seeing...
Which they all initially hate, because it does not have the creature comforts of what they know gaming is now.
Yes, which is so good for them. And you're showing your daughter how to play old, hard games, and I'm showing my son how to play old, hard games. I'll get my kid into it. But I think that is a wonderful history lesson unto itself. Are they learning anything about what it's like to go to Oregon? Probably not in any meaningful way. So when I was a kid, this was the idea, is that we would play this game and we would somehow gain information about the pioneers. Which we did not. Like, I today can't remember anything except that you could get dysentery and die
Yeah,
fairly
nothing.
easily.
The students, the only thing they're learning is that the death toll is high.
Right. Yes. Yeah. It's not especially educational, and games are not especially educational. I think the problem is more from the anti-TV, anti-screen side of things. And maybe this is surprising too, like as a person who reads a lot, right? And I'm this research character that I play on podcasts. Why do I love screens? I love them as entertainment and as release. And that is what their function is primarily. I don't think they're great teaching tools for the most part. I believe that laptops, for example, shouldn't be in schools because while they're convenient, they lack the, just like from a neuroscience perspective, and there's very recent research being done on all of this, they're just not as good at teaching us. But leaving that aside, I think the notion that television and games need to contribute to our education and to train us in some way suggests that there is no space for play in a child's life. Mm-hmm. And it creates out of us these worker bees that we're not really meant to be. I mean, you and I are talking about, your wonderful, weird, geeky hobbies and my wonderful, weird, geeky passions. This is what makes us who we are. It's also what keeps us sane and not just, being awful, boring, terrible people who are obsessed with our jobs. So I don't think we should be telling children that screen time is bad. I think that too much screen time is certainly bad. And that was part of 80s culture. That was part of 90s culture. I think we may have lost some of that with the iPad culture of the modern day. And I think that's really problematic.
I think it is coming back. There's a lot more schools who are implementing things like yonder pouches. That's something that my school has done for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And if you're not familiar, which most of our audience is not in middle school, so they're probably not experiencing it, but concerts are doing it as well. A yonder pouch is a pouch that you put your phone in, it closes, and you need a neodymium magnet to unlock it. Mm-hmm. And the students put that in at the beginning of the day, and they get it back at the end of the day. And students, for the most part, hate it. And the ones that really hate it will go out of their way to do anything they can to not, or they'll break it as soon as they get it. And they're really easy to break. You can just shove a pencil in there and twist it, and it just pops open. Or students will just take their case off their phone, slide that in, and then like when their homeroom teacher, feels the yonder pouch, they're like, oh, it's in there. It's just the case. I don't have a homeroom class, so it's not something I ever have to worry about. But I think it is something that's slowly moving, like the pendulum is swinging back in the direction of moderating screen time again. And I think that's a good thing. In my class, we just don't use computers.
That's
I didn't
great.
see the need for it in a language classroom,
Good for you.
especially when they have resources like Google Translate, which they would gravitate to as quickly as they could.
And has been wonderful for my research on Japan.
Yeah,
but
it's a great tool, but
if you're trying to learn a language.
Exactly, you need the foundation first, and then, like if I don't remember how to say something, I can use that for like a word, but I'm not going to use it for a full sentence, and I don't want them to. I want them to parse their way through it and use the language that they have. But it's something that I'm hopeful for in the education world, that we're moving laptops back out
Away
of the classroom.
Yes.
And
they're for fun.
Yeah.
For a child.
When we had to be remote because of the pandemic, they were a necessity.
Yeah. And then it got into
And then it became a dependence for the students.
Yeah. So when I say I'm a fan of screen time, I need to qualify that substantially. My children are allowed to watch an hour and a half-ish, maybe an hour of TV a day.
Yeah.
My son's allowed to play video games with me on the weekends, and my wife we recently had a disagreement, a polite, quiet disagreement with the children present about that, because my son has a hard time separating, and will throw a little fit. And he will throw a little fit, like if he doesn't get enough salami too, right? Or if the ice cream bowl runs out. So my point to my wife is that he's learning every fit to separate.
Yep.
And to deal with play ending. And so if we can grow into adults who know that play must end, if we can learn as children that we're allowed to play and that it doesn't have to help us learn anything or do anything, that we can really just be off when we're playing video games or when we're watching TV, that it doesn't have to be doing anything productive for us, I think we're in great shape, because then it is still doing a lot of productive things for us.
It's still that release that you need. You need release.
Yes. Not only that, but you're also learning patience. You're learning, that's my wife calling to tell me to quit telling all you guys this stuff. You're wrong, Rob. You're wrong. He needs to quit playing Mega Man. But the kids are learning patience, bashing Mega Man's head against the wall, like when you're 7 or 8 years old, and having to go back and back and back and back, right? These games required enormous patience, not to mention Pac-Man. Mario 1, like, it's just brutal for a 7-year-old. But I mean, now as an adult, you're like, it's easy. But even as an adult, like, it's quite weird, esoteric, like beating level 8, right? And having to go in the right order on the platforms. It's hard. So you're learning a kind of patience through these games. And when we're experiencing the cartoons, even, you're learning to process different levels of culture. And like Mario moved between live action with Lou Albano and Danny Wells, and then to the cartoon and back and forth. And we're learning to process media and stories. And there's a lot of satire in these as well. It's just media literacy is coming through this. So it's educational for just being fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we know we have a better...
Have we learned anything about me today?
I think we have. We have a better picture of who you are. We have a better picture of where you came from in the sense of an academic look at you and where your passions lie now. And that's going to kind of align with what you're working on and working towards in the future. And if anyone in the alchemical... Or not, nope, that's us. If anyone in the occult confessing...
The confessors.
If any of the confessors...
We don't call them that very often, but hey, guys.
No, hey. If any of the confessors happen to have, guidance on where we should look, or if any of them are interested in reading the book, maybe we can do like a little Patreon breakdown once.
Oh yeah, I'm open to that. Sure, yeah. Let us know. We're probably going to shop at the academic publishers next.
Yeah,
that's just the nature of it. But we're trying to find some place for the thing to sit. We can certainly self-publish it too. Ultimately, I think I'm going to go in the direction of YouTube with this kind of stuff, and continue to do the things that I do on OC. So I'm not going to leave you guys alone and go do this Nintendo thing, but I'm doing both.
Yeah. I mean, Nintendo has such an iron fist on their IPs now compared to what they had. That who knows?
But I'm covered though because I analyze it. FYI, the copyright world. If you take an image, for example, these trading cards, I'm perfectly within my rights to use them because I'm analyzing them. But if I'm just repurposing them for my own gain, that's a copyright violation for sure. Anyhow.
Hey, thanks for letting me just chat with you for a bit.
This has been fun.
I hope
thanks for just chatting.
The confessors enjoyed it. If you guys want more insight into Rob, I can always sit down with him again. We can have another conversation.
Send Luke your questions.
Yeah, send me your questions. You can reach me through the Discord. But maybe, we can have another chat again in the future, get updates on OC, as well as your work, be it on the book or anything else that you're working on.
Sounds good. Let's do it. So hereby adjourn and declare closed this meeting of the Secret Order of Alchemical Actors. It's been me, talking about me, with Luke.
Talking about Rob.
And also some Luke, here on Occult Confessions.